Good morning. Welcome to Morning Moments. I'm so glad that you came and joined us this morning. We have a special guest all the way from Idaho, and she is a screenwriter and a script consultant, award-winning script writer, may I add, Shelly Paino. Welcome, Shelly.
Thank you for having me on. Thank you so much.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started, what do you do, and why do you do it? Tell us about your writing.
I got into screenwriting. I've just always loved writing. And then shortly after high school, I was not finding my way. And I think my mom knew that. She put a college brochure on my bed, and I ended up opening it. And I read a course description for screenwriting, and I kind of teared up. I was like, that's what I want to do. And so ever since then, I sold things to be able to take that class, and I took it, and I've just been writing ever since. That was when I was about 20, and I won't say how long that's been because people can do math and they'll give away how old I am, but it's been a long time. I've gotten to write 13 original screenplays, I think, at this point, and it's kind of evolved into, when I first started, there was no faith-based films. It wasn't something that existed. And I've gotten to watch that become something because I thought, yeah, that would be really cool if they did Christian films. And now it's a thing. And I'm so blown away and amazed that I'm getting to be a part of that and what's going on. So once I saw that was growing, I jumped on Facebook, and there's a group on there called Christian Filmmakers. And I typed, I'm a writer if anybody wants, their Christian story written. And I got contacted by somebody who has amazing true stories. And so I wrote a screenplay for her based on a prophetic dream that she was given. And it was one of the first times that had happened to her. So she was kind of figuring it out, and what do you do? And to be honest, I had to Google what is intercessory prayer, because I actually, even though I grew up in church, I didn't even know. So it's been so cool for me to get to know more about my own faith. And she was a Christian who was born in Pakistan, and I wanted to be like, I didn't even know there were Christians in Pakistan, and there are. And so it's very kind of timely with what's going on, because she's been, persecuted against, and I've gotten to learn a lot more of what that's like. So that first one that I wrote for her, I didn't know what was going to happen with it. I just wrote it, and she entered it into contests, and it won. And so there was another story she had about how she was able to go to college, even though when you're a Christian and a woman in Pakistan, there's no, that's not a path for you. Even other Christians will tell you, we don't go to university. That's not something we do. And just miracle after miracle happened to make it possible for her to go to university so that she could get a degree, so that she could get a job and get out of Pakistan. She was trying to leave. So, so that's the one. I just was in Texas, and I just got back from that. And it's a pretty recent that I wrote that for her, and we entered it into Content Media Conference, and it won first place. So very excited about that. So kind of just keeping on and just doing the next thing that God wants to have me do. And as long as I'm telling God's story, it just goes so well. So,
when you're a storyteller, either the story comes up from within you, or the story finds its way to you. Either way. And right. It is just amazing when I hear writers and screenplay writers talk about getting that story when it happens. Sometimes it's that friend or that contact that says, oh, I've got to get this story. And other times there's just something springs up within you at the strangest moments, and you get ideas. That you were sharing that with me as well, right?
Yeah, there was one that just came to me out of, it was just one lyric from a song. that made me think differently, specifically about homeless people, because I can be a little bit judgmental. Like, what did you do that, that's not my fault that you're homeless? And then it basically said, you don't know what happened to them. You don't know their story. Why would you judge? And so it just made me think differently. And I came up with a whole story based on that. So, yeah, a lot of times it's just maybe God dealing and bringing something up in your head that you need to deal with. And then it just becomes a story that I don't know if somebody else can relate to that, but maybe they can. And so
in your role, sometimes you become the creator of that story and you build it, and then other times you take somebody else's story. And I know you've been doing a lot of script consulting now as well, but you get that fresh view and the fresh look at someone else's story and add to that as a collaborative effort, right?
Right. About the last year, that's a lot of what I've been doing actually, is directors and producers will say, okay, we have this script, but it's just not ready. It needs something. And they will give it to me. And yeah, absolutely. I'm like, yes, I would love to fix this because I can see what needs to be done. I often can't do that in my own stuff. I can look at my own script that I wrote and say, I don't, but somebody else's stuff, I can absolutely read through it and, oh, we need to do this and this and this. So, yeah, it's actually fun for me, and I get to be so creative working with something that's already a story. And I'm like excited about, okay, yeah, we can do this. And we can, it's exciting to me to be able to fix things and make it so much better before the cameras roll. So
there's so much that takes place behind the scenes. When people see the movie, they see the finished product. They see,
right.
but the acting and the sets and everything, and then also even the story itself. There's so many hands in it to make it the creation that gets the message across. But everybody has their part in the message, don't they?
Right. And that's what I try to say before I go in and start, probably tearing apart in their eyes what they've done. I try to ask them, because of stories that I've heard other people tell, that, first things first, I want to make sure your vision stays intact. What is it that you're trying to say? And then sometimes people tell me, I don't really know. and we get to refine that and say, overall big picture, what's the theme here? What's the passion? And make sure that story stays intact. Because yeah, people can go 100 different directions with it, but if that's not the story that God gave you and God wants you to tell, then that's the most important thing, is it's God's story first. So
while you were sharing, quite often when I hear an interview, I'll say, well, God, what is some of the messages you want from this interview? And I just felt like there may be people right now that just attend church, and they have ministries maybe in or outside of the church, and they just feel like, well, I'm not part of the big picture. I'm just doing my little job, what I'm doing. But it doesn't matter if you're a greeter or you're picking up the trash or cleaning the toilets or you're parking attendant or you're a worship leader or you just play the bass or the drums or whatever. You call people and encourage them on the phone. All of us are part of the church.
right.
And just like the making of this movie, it takes so many moving parts, and it takes so much for you to be part of what God's called for you. And when people come to Christ, either through a film or through a sermon, it's the collaborative effort that makes it all possible.
Right. I actually just am rewriting a script that I did, and I changed one character because I thought, what is it that she is really going through? And she's kind of the the catch-all behind the scenes of the church, and the pastor's kind of, what he learns is that has taken her for granted. And at some point she says, I'm not important. And he's, that's his moment to say, you are the church. You
Yeah.
are, there is none of this without you, because, and, maybe you're not as visible, but you're definitely, yeah, anybody that does any small part, it can't be done without them. So,
Yeah.
and you don't know what the end product is of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, one day we will get our reward from heaven, and things that we didn't even know will be part of a reward, is that you had a piece of this, and souls were saved, and these people here came to Christ because of the effort that you did. And we will know one day.
Right.
Scriptures say we will know. We will find that out. But until then, we just keep doing what we're doing on a daily basis, and trusting God's going to take our efforts and make it his own.
Right. Definitely.
Right. Shelly, thank you so much for joining me today. I am so glad that you accepted my invitation for this interview. We're going to put down below the information about films that you've done, things that you're working on, also your website. If you're in the industry and you want some screen consultant, please get a hold of Shelly and see what she has to offer you as well. More important than all of that, down below, I want people to think of Shelly Paino and pray for her, that God would continue to minister to her and bless her, and have her to be doing just exactly what God has her doing right now, and being in the will of God. Thank you, Shelly, for sharing your heart today.
Thank you so much, Andy. This was great.
All right. Thank you for joining us for Morning Moments, and keep coming back.